Well, it seems that Final Fantasy fans are eating pretty well this year. There's more Final Fantasy nutrients on its way, apparently. Let's talk about that. My fellow warriors of light, it is time to shine and polish them swords. It would seem as if there is apparently going to be a brand new PlayStation 5 exclusive Final Fantasy title rumored to be appearing during Square Enix's E3 for this year, which of course we know is happening next month. Rumors towards a brand new Final Fantasy PS5 exclusive title started last week through Reset Era thanks to a user known as Navtra. Now, if you guys kept up to date with all of the Final Fantasy 16 rumors and whatnot that were happening last year, you will be very familiar with this user. Now, Navtra accurately listed basically all of the reveals that happened in the initial major PlayStation 5 showcase that happened at the start of last year, also mentioning within that list that Final Fantasy 16 will also be in amongst these games. Now, during that first initial showcase, while they did mention that 16 was meant to be in there, it wasn't. They later on came out with a statement saying that they're unsure as to why it wasn't there. It was supposed to be there, but should appear in September's showcase. Lo and behold, the PlayStation 5 September showcase rolls around, and of course we get that succulent Final Fantasy 16 reveal. So yes, this person most certainly does have some credibility, especially through me experiencing that firsthand. I'm gonna go out here on a whim and say, I believe you, son. Now, of course, as these things usually always go, though, even though I'm saying I'm a believe you, son, it's always good to take these rumors and stuff that come out in threads and forums with a grain of salt. That's just golden rule number one. Try not to set yourself up for any disappointment. But then again, it's hard to lean into that when you have someone with some credibility going on and that this is actually quite an exciting announcement. It's going to apparently be a Final Fantasy Souls-like game, and while I'm not exactly so Souls-driven in the sense of absolutely sucking the titty of From Software, unless of course it's Bloodborne, really the only games that I can do for Souls-like would either be Bloodborne or, of course, Nioh. These are, in my opinion, for me personally, and I think this is why I attach on specifically those two games, they feel more fast-paced in the gameplay sense in comparison to that of Dark Souls or other Souls-type games, and that's why I've only ever been able to click with them specifically. But mentioning Nioh, apparently this brand new Final Fantasy game, which is supposedly meant to be a PlayStation 5 exclusive, dang, it seems like perhaps maybe PlayStation are paying Square Enix some big dog money towards having these Final Fantasy games either first on PlayStation or just PlayStation through and through. We know, of course, 16 will be PS5 exclusive, will eventually come out on PC at some point. Currently, as of right now, we know that the Final Fantasy VII Remake is still PlayStation exclusive. Final Fantasy XIV Online is, of course, on PC, but the only console it's on is PlayStation. So yeah, there is a major current Final Fantasy focus for specifically PlayStation. Now, let's talk about all of the information towards this project that has come out thus far, and then speak towards opinions and thoughts and whatnot. So, as I said, the rumors started to circulate from the user known as Navtra over on Reset Era last week, and over the past few days, more and more information towards this rumored Final Fantasy title has come out. Navtra said, I believe you can expect at least one more major Final Fantasy announcement in addition to updates on the currently announced stuff, 16 Endwalker and 7 Remake. It should be a good E3 season for Square overall. I don't know their exact E3 schedule, but I'm guessing based on knowledge of what games they have in development, how far in they are, and their target release dates. So take it with a grain of salt. I believe we're getting 2 major Square Enix reveals this June, a PlayStation 5 exclusive Final Fantasy title, and a cross-gen Idios title. Just to set expectations, it's something new, not as high-end as Final Fantasy 16 or Forspoken, but certainly more significant than World of Final Fantasy or a remaster. Conceptually, I think it might be up many people's alleys. fantasies. It's not Avalai's tactics nor Warriors, don't set yourselves up for disappointment. It's tricky, it's certainly Souls inspired, but it's not exactly what you'd imagine when you hear Souls-like Final Fantasy. Someone asked, is this going to be an RPG? Navtra followed out saying yes, and the last little slice we have right here from Navtra is again a response to someone saying, hopefully it isn't going to be a Tetsuya Nomura driven designed Final Fantasy game, but it is. Navtra said right here, it's a Tetsuya Nomura looking game except with Nomura design. So it would seem, if this information is correct, that yes, Nomura is behind this project. For me personally, obviously that gets me absolutely pumping, dude. I mean, Grandpappy Nomura, Papa Nomura, Uncle Nomura. I'm a fanboy. What do you expect? I suck the absolute titty of Kingdom Hearts. So, of course I'm excited. Yeah, I know when it comes to the wide scope of Final Fantasy and like the fans that follow, there is a bit of a divide when it comes to Nomura. You're either Team Nomura or not Team Nomura. So, I'm hard Team Nomura, what can I say? I mean, that's to be expected, right? Now, since all of the Navtra information, another media outlet that goes by the name of Fanbyte released an article talking more so about this. And this article was actually written by Imran Khan, who is also another insider and has in the past accurately predicted certain different things. This information gives us furthermore a better, clearer picture as to what this project potentially could be. So, there's a bit of information here, bear with me. The rumor states that Square Enix is working with Team Ninja, Koei Tecmo's in-house development team behind games like Ninja Gaiden, Nioh, and perhaps most relevantly, the latest entry in the Final Fantasy fighting game series, Dissidia NT. The posted rumors go on further by assigning the game a genre, something akin to Nioh or the Souls games, and suggesting it takes place somewhere in or adjacent to the world of the first Final Fantasy game on the Nintendo Entertainment System. Our sources have corroborated this rumor and suggest the name of the game is Final Fantasy Origin. Whether it be a type of redone, rebooted version of Final Fantasy 1, which is ditching the turn-based and going more towards an action-orientated RPG type gameplay with Souls elements input, or is something that is set before the events of Final Fantasy 1 and has ties to Final Fantasy 1 but is still a Souls-inspired type action RPG. It seems to be one of the two. In my opinion personally, that gets me really excited. If it is, it would seem like Final Fantasy is going back to its high fantasy medieval type setting, which I know Final Fantasy fans have been crying out for so long. It's been a hot minute since there have been major Final Fantasy installments with the high fantasy theme going on. We know, of course, that Final Fantasy 16 will be doing this, so it will be super cool to get another major Final Fantasy title that will also be pertaining to that theme as well. And also, for someone like myself that just cannot do turn-based, if this is going to have something to do with Final Fantasy 1, because personally I don't have plans to go through all of those older Final Fantasies as much as I would like to. I just cannot stand turn-based, you guys know me. So to be able to have some kind of original Final Fantasy 1 type experience, but with this type of gameplay formula, so long as it's not Souls out the ass, but is kind of more like action RPG, fast like Nioh, which it would seem like it will probably be fast like Nioh, considering the fact that this is being made by Team Ninja, who made, of course, Nioh 1, Nioh 2. Fantastic games, by the way. If you're not into the Souls thing, I would still suggest Nioh, trust me. It's the only Souls game, as well as Bloodborne, as I said, that I can actually handle. Fanbyte go on to say the game, which appears to be exclusive to PlayStation 5 with a PC release further down the road, will be one of Square Enix's tentpoles at their upcoming E3 show. For whatever reason, several large chunks of the undated June show have leaked out, including the Final Fantasy Origins logo and demo plans. Not sure where the logo sort of information is coming from. There is no logo floating around, but of course this could be more so towards insiders that have seen it. Of course, we don't know, but the logo currently me right now isn't public. Square Enix hopes to release an alpha demo this summer, not unlike Nioh's public alphas, to solicit feedback from the audience while the game is still in a fairly early state. This demo, like several other major demos, has its own title of Stranger in Paradise. So this rumor further suggests that yes, we will be getting a massive showcase of this Final Fantasy Origins next month, with a demo dropping later on this year to garner feedback. Though of course this is an alpha demo, so from obviously what the article is saying right here, that in itself would suggest the game is still ways off, but we will be able to have some type of an experience towards the game this year. That gets me fucking excited. We know that Final Fantasy 16 is some ways off. I don't think we should expect Final Fantasy 16 until probably end of 2022 or 2023. In the sense of this game, I would say more so 2024, honestly. Though, then again, it's just so hard to gauge when all these different Final Fantasy games are coming out because there is so much Final Fantasy going on. If this is correct, that's huge. That's another big Final Fantasy game. We then have Final Fantasy 16. At some point, we're getting Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2, another Final Fantasy type feeling game, though it isn't Final Fantasy, but is of course being developed by Luminos Production Studios from Square Enix are making Forspoken. That's meant to come out next year. I mean, Square Enix are fucking busy, man. And then like Kingdom Hearts as well. We should be getting more Kingdom Hearts in the next couple years. The ladies and gentlemen at Square Enix are they're working overtime. I hope no one's sweating too hard though in the studios, because this really does seem like a lot of projects to take on board all at one time. Of course though, from what the rumor suggests, this is being developed by Team Ninja, not Square Enix. Square Enix are outsourcing Team Ninja, part of Koei Tecmo, so that will take a little bit of stress off Square's shoulders, if this is true. As Navtra has mentioned though, this isn't a major type Final Fantasy game to the degree of something like Final Fantasy 16, so while yes, I have mentioned that this is a major Final Fantasy game, I would still consider it to be just because of the sort of genre that it's going for, and that it is an origin to that of what seems like Final Fantasy 1. But in the grand scale of things, no, it's not quite on the same level as something like Final Fantasy 16. So to be honest, we could actually see this game drop maybe within the same year as 16. The final information says expect the title to play similar to Nioh or other games in the genre, but to be more accessible for a wider audience. Fanbyte's sources indicate that the game is largely developed by the same team behind Dissidia NT, but that Team Ninja's nearly 200-person studio involves a lot of shifting around, and that there aren't hard borders on the different teams these days. The Nioh DNA in this game is likely the result of people core to the first two games' development being involved in Final Fantasy Origins. So that's it right there. It seems like, yes, it will have the essence of Nioh embedded into the experience of this game, which again just gets me really excited because I enjoyed Nioh so much. The comment that Fanbyte mentioned right here saying that it will be more accessible for a wider audience then also does make me think that perhaps there could be some kind of difficulty type thing input in there so that it does appeal to not just Souls fans but all spectrums of RPG type fans, ones that are into the action side of things. If that is the case, I think that would be really cool. This is a commonly said thing when talking towards Souls games. I know that difficulty, the one inbuilt difficulty, is part of the Souls DNA, but a major thing that is always brought up is there are people wanting to experience these Souls games and only do wish that there were actually difficulty options. I know Souls fans would probably fucking crucify me for saying this, but I mean, this is Final Fantasy. Considering it's got such a wide fan base, a fan base that sort of leans towards many different genres, I think it may potentially be a good idea to make it a little bit more accessible in the difficulty side of things if this is going to be a Souls-like game. But however, guys, that is it. That is the major Final Fantasy PlayStation 5 rumor type thing that is going around as of right now. This gets me so excited, but I'm boggled, like I'm fucking mind boggled as to just how much Final Fantasy, how much major Final Fantasy is coming out. I mean, that's absolutely ridiculous. Again, Don't take this as concrete information. We will find out if this is true or not come, of course, June next month. We're not too far away from it. But I'm excited. I'm really excited. Mainly because even Final Fantasy 16, while it doesn't look Souls-like, it's leaning more towards kind of proper action RPG, Devil May Cry type combat. You guys know me, no turn-based. I like to see that Final Fantasy is heading in a more action-orientated sense. Not everyone's going to agree with that, but if I can get more action-orientated Final Fantasy games... That's the noise I make when I'm excited. Now guys, leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. I'd love to know what you guys think. Are you for or against a more Souls? My man, do you have to be doing that right now? I'm trying to finish this video, bro. Are you for or against a Souls-like Final Fantasy? Please do let me know. However guys, I'm Cynical, and until next time, I'll catch you later. Peace. Really, Bill?